elects the members of the 6 and the 5. Is that not the leadership in the House?
Yes. The members that will serve in that committee are supposed to be, the names are supposed to be given out by the two leaders, the leader of majority and the leader of minority. And so at the point of giving out the names is when the leader of minority noted that he was being told that he will be given only 4 slots. And he raised it. He said, I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Who was telling him?
The speaker. So I think the speaker made a decision to give one of the slots of the minority to Jubilee. And that was what part of the mistakes, in my opinion.
But why? What's the wisdom of the speaker in this? Because so what happens to those who belong to a coalition of independent members of parliament? Are we saying that they are not represented? Because I can see maybe the speaker is saying, because Jubilee is a party in the House and they align themselves with the minority officially, then they also ought to be considered when you're creating the list of minority members. What about the voice of the independent members? Or are they not sufficient?
Incidentally, I think there are about 8 or so. Incidentally, these members, even the independent members, are somehow aligned. You know, you notice that, just like I've said, the member for Migori, women rep for Migori, for example, is aligned completely with Azimio. You know, for all intents and purposes, that's a member. That's one of our members. Even when we have our PGs, she will come. So the House is alive to that fact that there are two sides.
Right.
You know, and so when Jubilee aligns with Kenya Kwanza, it makes no sense for Kenya Kwanza to end up with 2 slots or above. In fact, 3 slots more than Azimio, because in essence, then it's easiest to have because they're supposed to have the majority of 1.
Yeah.
They're supposed to have had 6. The 6 should have been enough for them. They should have made sure these other slots have come to us so that we can share them amongst, even if we want to have an independent, then my leader, the minority leader, could have put an independent member who is aligned to us. And the majority leader, at the same time, can also put people in the smaller parties. You know, there are also, other than independents, there's also parties that are not parliamentary. Parties like KANU, which has 5 members, it's not a parliamentary party because of the numbers. Parties like DAPK, you know, there are few members. So there are a lot of small parties like PA, parties like Chap Chap. They are small parties, but they are aligned.
They have members.
PA, Chap Chap, after elections also jumped to Kenya Kwanza. And we accepted that they are part of Kenya Kwanza, and they basically are on that side now. So for the speaker to pick a slot from the minority and give it to a party aligned to Kenya Kwanza was also unfair.
That was mischief number 1.
Of course, you know a bad day from the morning.
Okay.
When the list was given, and I'll tell you this is what happened because it was in the full glare of media. When names were being read of the 11-member committee, the House had already said they will reject the list. And so the speaker announced and said, you know what, if you reject the list and then we don't form the committee, then we've let the CS off the hook, and naturally there will be no further business on this matter. So when he said that, now it became, members realized they're between a rock and a hard place. So they had to make a decision. And you will notice this, when the names were being read out, when any name of the 7 was read out on the floor of the House, members shouted no. When our names of the four members were named, they shouted yes. So already members kind of knew that their saving grace is going to be the 4 members. And sure enough, 10 days later, they returned a verdict that was already predetermined. You know, even the Jubilee member who you would have expected to have maybe been independent and think through on behalf of the farmers, they decided that they all go the same direction. And it's unfortunate because even those that are so easy to substantiate, like I just told you, an issue like abuse of power, which would have easily been substantiated by calling a witness, we refuse to call witnesses. Matters like when the CS himself, and you're saying, they said that he's lost public trust because at the beginning, you remember when this scandal broke, he said there is no fake fertilizer. Those were his words. There's no, fertilizer is good. Go to NCPB, you get perfect fertilizer. Then the deputy president pronounced himself on the matter and said, well, it seems that there's a problem. I want to apologize to farmers who may have gotten this bad fake fertilizer. So immediately after that, the CS came out and said, you know, there is only 3,000 bags of fake fertilizer. Only 3,000. So he's trying to say there is a problem, but he's diminishing the quantity. I mean, if there are only 3,000, how did he know there are only 3,000 unless he was involved in the packaging, maybe? So, because he said there are only 3,000, and then when he disparages Alan Namu, you know, on TV, and says, you know, this fellow is just a thug, a crook. Some terms he used, which we were also talking about the inconsistency of his communication, because got to be public trust.
Yep.
Remember, this is the danger we face. The government said that they will not subsidize consumption, they will subsidize production.
Yep.
And they said the main way by which they've done that is to subsidize fertilizer. Now, if we are going to subsidize fertilizer and then we find that the fertilizer is substandard or not, you know, it's actually fake, basically. It's fake because it's not fertilizer. What we saw is not fertilizer. So if that is the case, then what will happen is that next year or the year after, farmers are going to be questioning the fertilizer coming out of government stores. So that means they will end up buying from, you know, the agrovets at a higher price. Which means that the subsidy will no longer be beneficial to them. I can tell you as a farmer, if I was a farmer, I would be very scared of any fertilizer coming out of NCPB now, because you don't know when will be the next scandal.
Trust.
So the loss of trust is one of those other parts of the Constitution. If you as a state officer, if there is no public confidence in you, then obviously the logical thing to do would be probably to step aside. So there's a lot of things we never got to the bottom of. In fact, I can tell you, we just said it's unsubstantiated because we did not want it to be substantiated.
You did not seek to substantiate.
We didn't want it to be substantiated, so it was very easy to say, no, you know, on this term, it was not substantiated. But the person who could have substantiated was not invited. The discussion that would have led us to figure out whether it can be substantiated or not was not allowed, because we were haggling all through and fighting all through. So I think the whole process was a sham. Kenyan taxpayers' money was wasted for 10 days.
It was set up to fail from the beginning.
Obviously. And then I'll tell you there is also some things we need to address, because the member for Bumula, the Honorable Jack Wamboka, who brought the motion, once the motion passed, it became the property of the House.
Yeah.
So that's why the House was forming a committee. Jack Wamboka did not form the committee. His business was done. But now, he
was made to be the complainant.
Yes, after that now, subsequently he's told, now, you know what, you have to organize yourself, put your thoughts together, find witnesses, organize how the witnesses will come to the city, accommodate them, transport them, find a lawyer, pay them, brief them, let them
Wait a minute.
Yes, I can tell you that's what happened.
Wait. So when we saw two sides appearing there,
yes,
the Honorable Medeka Linturi had his team of lawyers.
Yes.
He was a sole witness in his case.
Yes.
So he paid his lawyers.
He paid his lawyers, yes.
The House had, because the House had accepted this, the House had Jack Wamboka as one
witness,
yes. And then there was that battery of lawyers. Who was paying those lawyers?
All those lawyers were paid by Honorable Jack Wamboka.
Why?
Those are the questions we're asking, because
who is it who communicated to him that it is him
who should pay?
Yes,
I think he's written. I can tell you so far what is happening is that he has approached the Parliamentary Service Commission with that matter. They didn't support him, but they are coming up with a paper to figure out how to support members. Article 127 of the Constitution says that the Parliamentary Service Commission is supposed to provide members with the facilities and services to carry out their duties.
Yeah.
Now, to deal with a motion like this is actually one of the facilities and the services that he needed to be facilitated for purposes of carrying out his duty as a member, which is to oversight. And the members of Parliament have actually constitutionally the mandate of being able to impeach a minister. So what was shocking is that the honourable member was left on his own, and you saw two of his advocates disappeared in the middle of the day, just before the cross-examination of
Yes.
they disappeared, and his lead counsel, the senior counsel John Hamino said it. He said, we went for lunch and these young men were very good. We were together throughout, and I saw them a few minutes ago. Now I can't see them. Their phones are off, and I think it's a security matter. But later on, we heard the young men were very safe somewhere, enjoying themselves, which meant that they were not under any danger.
Or perhaps if one can speculate, they had been spoken to.
Well,
Speaking of
if
being
one
spoken
can,
to.
if one can speculate,
Yes.
People have said, and one person who has come out to directly and openly speak about this is Senior Counsel Benasir Abdullahi, who has gone onto social media and said, you know what, there are, and he's alleging that there was exchange of cash to the members of this committee, or at least an approach to members of this committee, approach with cash so that then you can sway your decision. Were you approached by anybody?
I wouldn't want to go into details because
Not details, just
yes, but
top level.
I want to, I have to set my case first.
Yes.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to go into details because it touches on my colleagues.
Yes.
Nobody beyond my colleague members talked to me. And yes, it did happen. On occasion, by members that are not in the committee, who asked for a favorable verdict, with a promise there would be a thank you at the end. So never, no details. And this is exactly what happened. So you can't even say what exactly the offer was.
Okay.
That you save.
But the bottom
save,
line
but
is that there were attempts at reaching out to the 11 members of the committee.
Yes. And within the committee,
Right.
I also did get, I was also approached from within the membership of the committee, yes, and told that, there's a plan that we can be sorted out in a certain way. All we have to do is look the other way. So I would be probably a much richer man if I had decided to look the other way.
Sasa angalia.
Now I would be living here, taking a flight to Mombasa for lunch.
It's not the first
With all
time.
of you.
It is not the first time, Mheshimiwa, that we hear about such things. In fact,
Yes.
I'll tell you, and that's why the reason I asked you, did you expect anything different from the very beginning? From the moment this matter was approved by the Speaker of the National Assembly, commentary, even I made that comment on this show, and I said, Soko imefunguliwa. Right? And because we have had this conversation so many times, we've heard it so many times that, this is what happens. That when you see such a matter going, even in the Senate, when it's impeachment by committee or impeachment by the whole house, it's okay, so hii soko tunaipanua ama hii soko tunaiconstrain to the membership of a committee. This is the perception that citizens of this country have of Parliament and the people they elect to Parliament. Yep. It's a very, very serious perception, and even when we said it here, we laugh about it. But it's a serious matter.
No, it's a serious
and it's something
matter.
that we know. And when the outcome comes, and when you hear even members saying, "Yes, I was approached," you're like, okay, and it passes. How can we deal with this issue?
I think I want to send this back to this issue back to sender.
Yeah.
It is public that elects members and brings them to Senate, the National Assembly, and all these offices. And the public have also watched, and they know. I mean, just like you said, I know that there were also members who would really have wanted to be in the committee because of what you've just alleged.
Because of the opportunity.
Yes, because of and the thing is, I will say this, that out of the 11, 4 of us clearly, of course, couldn't have touched anything because we had to go. We went eventually against. So, but I won't say the others took. I don't know. But that allegation is not unfounded because I was approached. I didn't touch. So I would also assume that maybe when you say let's not have witnesses who can help us with the case, there must be a motivation. What is the motivation? You see, that's the thing I ask myself. So I think when it comes to the general public, when they are also doing the elections, let them also, maybe look at the kind of people they bring to the house. Because when the parliament is in disrepute, when the committee of 11 members is in disrepute, it extends to the house. It also reflects on the house because these are not drawn from outside the house. It reflects negatively on the house. And when the house is also in disrepute, remember it reflects on the country because these are representatives of the people. So if the representatives act in a certain way, they can't be acting against what the people are like. So I think this is a big problem and that needs to be addressed. So Kenyans need to figure out why the problem comes in is because during elections, you find the people with deeper pockets are likely to win.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you? That already soko pia inafunguliwa at the grassroots. And I want to be candid because that's a reality.
Announce gazette the date of the election. Soko imefunguliwa.
Yes. And so soko imefunguliwa even for the general public. So they wakule where they can. Then after that, now the same fellas now who are out there, who are the victims, now get into the house. So now they start kurudisha pesa yao.
Mheshimiwa, one of the things that the voter cannot do, they cannot know what the hidden desires of the elected leaders are. When leaders are elected in this country, there are many instances where we've had leaders who are elected who don't really have any money to speak of. It means the people have decided, that is the person with money we know. This is the person we also know. We feel this is the person who could represent us. Now, there is no measure for what it is, or there is no foretelling what it is that good fortune or the effects of good fortune will bring on the individual. We asked that question here with a tinge of humor. Is what air do people breathe when they get into parliament? Because we know many people who are genuinely sincere.
Yo kitu, you see, like in high school, the way they put something maftata.
Yes.
Kwa githeri. Ile kitu ile chai. Ile chai kwa cafeteria ya bunge.
Bwana, ile siku ya induction.
Wanaweka.
But I can tell you from my serving my third term, my observation is this. The public sometimes, they bring in people, of course, from all walks and sizes, and rich people, poor people, tall people, short people, everyone. And we all congregate there. And I think there is also quite a number of people that are fairly wealthy, in fact, extremely wealthy, that are elected to the house.
Yep.
So I think what happens is that somebody who comes in and was a head teacher somewhere, a principal somewhere, who doesn't have much in their pocket, is suddenly rubbing shoulders with extremely rich people.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the income, or rather the pay, is not very small. So there's this attitude and no more natural tendency for people to also want to go up the ranks. And so the minute they go up a little, they want to compete now with those that are multimillionaires who have been, in the system for long. So somebody is a first-time member, they also want to get rich quick. And so tendencies, the ability to be swayed is quite high. But it's not all of them. It's just a few individuals you see who succumb. There are also many members who just serve diligently. They're 5 years, get re-elected or even lose. But there are very many members who are also clean. The biggest problem is that, those that are notorious are the ones that are known more. Because those that will do crazy things, suddenly you have come from nowhere, you have money, you start flouting it, you go on overseas trips, you're taking photos in the aeroplane, you're taking photos out there, you get now a new girlfriend, you start having her on your shoulder, you're hanging on your arm, you're taking photos, circulating. That's what causes. so, but it's just a few people. Let me just say, there's maybe a very small percentage, maybe 10, 15, maybe 20.
But you know something, Mheshimiwa, maybe 10, 20. But that's not what we judge our representatives by. It's how they vote. Because there are very many issues that come into Parliament.
Yep.
Let's take case in point. We're now going to be looking at the finance bill. The ceiling that the executive is allowed to reach when in terms of borrowing. That decision rests with Parliament. So when we talk about the onerous task of paying back our taxes, paying back our debts, and the percentage of our GDP that actually, or our revenue that goes to paying taxes, we laid at the foot of Parliament. We said, but you are the people who gave these people this ceiling. We don't see ample evidence of where we said, okay, ceiling, we don't, that we understand, we also live here. But can you tell us what you did with what we gave you before? Now, it may be asked once or twice, but we do not see Parliament vigorously holding the executive to account. That's what they're supposed to do. It is said, and it's in the public domain, that people feel in this country that Parliament is like an extension of the executive. Now, there are those voices that dissent. Sometimes we hear them, like in this instance, we've heard it very clearly and very loudly. The other instances, we don't even hear a whimper.
No, I would love to hear a situation where there was no whimper when the executive was doing its excesses. We have always held them to account. The problem is we will shout, but the shouting from the other side is so loud that we sound like a whimper.
See what you're doing
That's
now.
a problem.
See what you're doing now. You're shouting. You see, what you say in Parliament and telling us to read the Hansard, I'm not going to read the Hansard. Why should I read the Hansard? What for?
Also, so we need to get it out.
That is the point. If these people are loud, why don't you also become loud? You see, the only way you will be judged by the public is if they can see, if they can hear, and they'll say, okay, they were defeated, but man, they put up a valiant fight. That's why I use the word whimper, because you barely hear it. Barely hear it means that when you look at us in the middle of the fourth estate, it'll be full of what, as you say, the other side is saying. Now, unless you're saying that those who are in the opposition bring their issues and we ignore it completely, I don't think that is the case. The fourth estate doesn't actually do that.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yes. If you come with your issue, you'll be given an equal footing. But if you don't come, or if we ask you to come and you don't come, then what do we do?
Well, that means we need to shout more, which we shall.
Louder.
And we shout louder.
Yes.
We will keep shouting louder.
Yes.
Yeah, because if we don't, incidentally, the way the country, where we are headed is a very difficult place. I mean, you've heard of the new finance bill being proposed. They've forgotten that we have not even healed from the wounds that have been inflicted by the 2023 one. In fact, we have not even fully implemented 2023 finance bill. We are still grappling with it and struggling with it. Then they've brought another one.
Let me ask you a simple question, Mheshimiwa. You've been in Parliament now and you understand your colleagues. Is it really in our DNA as Kenyans never to deny or refuse to take a bribe? Because it appears many of our problems, when it comes to Parliament, there's always the mention of conversations in toilets, brown envelopes, sometimes it's white envelopes. Is it possible for people to actually say, look, there's a larger picture here, and it's actually in our interest to look at it? Because it seems like the need to cater for whatever immediate purpose somebody has seems to take center stage.
Yeah, well, I guess that's true. But, I'll tell you this. There's a time when Kibaki was president, he attempted to solve this problem. Also, part of the craving for money is also pressure from the public. And it's important to say this. And a few can say that I am one of those few.